introduce this panel, I'd like to call on Barney. A little intro on Barney, as we've just seen Dexian's work in AgriTech and digital solutions, not only about platforms like AgriIQ or applications for farmers and the sugar ecosystem, it's about solving very real everyday challenges faced by people on the ground. So behind every solution, you have just seen our teams, partners and leaders who ensure that these ideas are practical, usable and ready to scale across regions and ecosystems. That brings us naturally to the focus of our next session, moving beyond platforms and pilots and into scalable real-world transformation. And as we bring today's panel discussion to a close, it's important that we hear from someone who not only understands the technology behind these solutions, but also the governance frameworks and partnerships required to take them forward at scale. So please help me in joining our Associate Director who leads Solutions Pre-Sales and Digital Transformation Initiatives at Dexian, Mr. Barney Ravichandran. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be introducing the next panel, our moderators and our speaker.
So, very good evening to our esteemed partners, valued guests, and everyone from the Dexian family joining us today. And it is my privilege to introduce our fifth and final panel of the day, Unlocking Value in AgriTech, Agri-Intelligence, and Decision-Making at Scale. To unpack what this looks like in practice and how intelligence truly translates into impact on the ground, I'm delighted to invite a distinguished group of leaders who bring deep experience from policy, programs, and research. Let me begin with our first panelist, Dr. Narendra Prasad Baduning, Deputy Manager at AFC India Limited, with over 25 years of experience across agriculture, forestry, biodiversity, and rural livelihoods, and a PhD in forest ecology. His work spans large-scale programs supported by institutions such as the World Bank, ADB, and UNDP, consistently bridging research, implementation, and policy. Dr. Baduning, we are delighted to have you with us today. Building on this strong foundation of policy and program execution, our next voice brings a powerful systems and delivery perspective. It is my pleasure to welcome Mr. Manish Shankar, Director at Palladium, India. He had led complex development initiatives across agriculture, climate resilience, and inclusive growth, working closely with government and multilateral partners. His experience offers a valuable lens on how policy, intent, financing structures, and data ecosystems come together to create measurable real-world outcomes. Mr. Shankar, a very warm welcome. Completing this diverse panel, leader from the frontier of research and innovation, where science, AI, and agriculture converge. Please join me in welcoming Professor Kavya Dashora from IIT Delhi, a globally recognized researcher. Her work brings together AI, sustainable proteins, and soil science. With over 118 high-impact publications that connect advanced research to practical agri-food systems and real-world application, Professor Dashora, we are honored to have you with us today. And guiding today's discussion, it's the very esteemed Professor and Dr. Mr. Krishnan Srinivasa Raghavan, with over 2 decades of leadership across the United Nations government and other multilateral institutions. Professor and Dr. Krishnan has played a pivotal role in advancing science, technology, and innovation policy across more than 35 countries. Currently an adjunct professor at the Amrita School of Sustainable Futures and senior expert with UNESCO Stephen. He brings an ability that is a rare, connecting global frameworks with local impact. So with that, I invite Professor and Dr. Krishnan Srinivasa Raghavan to lead this conversation and help us explore how intelligence can truly shape impact. Thank you.
Thank you for the nice introduction. I think being the last panel, we already have time constraints, but then we will do justice to the time that is available with us. And before going to my esteemed co-panelists, I would like to share that, agriculture, just to give you some statistics, the contribution of agriculture to our Indian GDP is 16 to 18%. Whereas, in terms of, if you look at the workforce, the employment, agriculture contributes 42 to 46% of India's workforce. So even though the GDP contribution is less, but when you look at the employability, the jobs, agriculture offers much more than any sector. And also among the employability in terms of the ratio of 42 to 46, it employs the maximum women. So 64.4% of women are employed in agriculture. So it shows, apart from the food security, nutrition security goals of sustainable development goals and all that, even in terms of market and jobs and employability, agriculture is very, very pivotal for India's GDP, India's economic growth, and without which, as a nation, we cannot sustain the growth that we are having. Even if it is 7% economic growth, agriculture is pivotal for that. But then, what is the contradiction, right? We have the budget for agriculture. Even the Honorable Finance Minister announced the budget recently, and the budget is 1.63 lakh crore for agriculture. But then, if you look at the topic that we have been discussing since morning, the digital intelligence and AI and data, do you know how much of the 1.63 lakh crore is going into that? It's only 150 crores. So from 1.6 lakh crore, what actually gets into AI and AgriStack and Vistar and all that we talk about today since morning is only 150 crore. And where is the lion's share going? In the 1.6 lakh crore, major share of this government expenditure goes to the fertilizer subsidy, right? So the irony for me as a moderator is that if you put more money in intelligence, it will reduce the need for fertilizer, because if you deploy drones, if you deploy predictive analytics, if you deploy data-based decisions in agriculture, you may not need that much fertilizer in the first place, and then you start giving subsidies, right? So there's so much money going into fertilizer subsidy, and we only have 150 crore going for AI and data analytics. So I think with these statistics, I am now going over to my fellow panelists, very distinguished panelists we have. Mr. Manish, Shankar, since we are talking about digital platforms, so I want to start with you. How can common digital platforms enable more effective public-private partnerships in agriculture by aligning incentives, data sharing, and accountability? So from your experience, can you kindly elaborate?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dexian, for giving us this opportunity to be here and share some of our views. A lot of what I'm going to share over here is based on a research study that we did for IDH Netherlands, which covered around 125 farm management information systems, which were being implemented in 5 countries. And we homed into some 25 of them, 5 per country, and then we deep dived into them to figure out what is working, what is not. Incidentally, one of the countries was China, and I would briefly describe that case study as we move forward in this conversation. The question that you asked me, and what I learned from this study, was that there needs to be a very clear value proposition for every stakeholder who is basically trying to build this, is a partner to this whole platform. Clear value propositions, if they are not there, then it's going to be very difficult. And chances are that you will not be able to reach out, either your outreach will suffer, or the scaling will become very, very difficult. So clear value propositions are a must. So that's the first point. Second point is that it all depends on good partnerships. But if your IP, intellectual properties, are not pre-negotiated before you enter into it, and later on when you start coming across contradictions, which kills the partnerships, then you are in deep trouble, because scale is a far cry. You may not even reach the first step to the whole thing. Third thing that we learned was that we have to have a very patient capital mindset for this to succeed. If you are taking a very typical venture capitalist mindset of kind of making 5 times money in 3 years, that's not going to happen. You have to have a patient capital mindset for this. Take a time horizon of 7 to 10 years, and then and only then can you think of scaling. Otherwise, it's very difficult. And this is where the Chinese example comes in. They were far ahead of us. They were into AI, they were into drones, they were into drone-mounted AIs, and they were doing all the fertilizer and the other sprinklings over there. And we realized that there was a service provider in the middle between the farmer or those who wanted service, these kind of services. And we realized that it was very, very difficult. It would have been very, very difficult for them to kind of build drones that cost them $13,000 a piece, and that to automated drones that could fly at night and kill the vectors and the disease-carrying vectors at night, because they were automated, right? So if you are using them at night, then the concentration of pesticides, insecticides that you get to use is much less, because everyone wants to chill out, including those vectors. So they will come out at night and they'll be easy kill. And therefore the concentration of pesticides and insecticides comes down, and that drives down the cost of the service provider, increases its profitability. But where is the investment here in India? We don't see that kind of commitment, that kind of an investment. Then the design was very, very farmer-centric. You take a before and after snap of this case study that I just spoke about. The farmer, before these drones came in China, he was deciding which specific pesticides to be sprinkled. Second, he was the one who was deciding how much, what concentration they need to be sprinkled. They were deciding the frequency, they were deciding when, they were deciding who. And after doing all this running around, they were also paying for it. After, they just pay for it. Drones as a service for plant protection is what they are being offered. And continuously, because of the AI-mounted drones, the cost of the service provider is continuously coming down without impacting the farmer at all. He continues to spend what she was spending even before, but the service provider is able to bring it down. So they have this I call very farmer-centric, because here you are taking all the trouble, all the burdens of the farmers away from him or her, and you are enabling them to do this. And then I saw that their approach was very iterative. They would talk to their service providers, they would talk to their farmers, they will continuously kind of engage their AI into learning more and more as they moved forward. They were at it in 2016. When I met them, it was 2019. And what they were doing in 2019, we have not yet begun to do it even now. Even now, we don't have those automated drones who are doing it. And that's like, so we all need to kind of sit here, put our heads together and smell the coffee. Because we are actually not moving the way we would have liked to move. Those who have seen what's happening abroad and in other geographies and competing economies, they need to kind of wake up and see what is it that we can do better.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Manish Shankar. Actually, you have highlighted a very important aspect of South-South cooperation, because when we learn from China's experience, how they have actually visualized and developed a farmer-centric model. And in terms of India, we need to learn from successful economies that are using AI to their advantage. And South-South cooperation can play a major role in that. Thank you for that. Moving on to Dr. Narendra Baduning. My question to you, sir, is what exactly do we mean by a market linkage platform? We are all talking about different intelligence, AI-based intelligence platforms. When you talk of connecting farmers to markets, market linkage platform, how is it different from existing agri-marketplaces?
And first of all, thank Dexian to give us this opportunity to meet you all learned people and opportunity to discuss as a panelist. And later on, I just marketing and on behalf of Dexian and all you people, I wish to give a big tribute to Professor late Swaminathan Saab, who gave this opportunity to discuss on marketing. Earlier, we just think we just grow for our own purpose, later on for traders, then mandi. And today we are quite enough you are talking about marketing of that surplus. We are producing so much quantity of the grains and other agriculture products. As our earlier panelist says, one of the IS officers, retired IS officer says, government can give you platform of make a road and initial other facilities. Later on, our private partners come on the scene. Similarly, AgriStack is the pioneer efforts of the government of India, or maybe they kept targeted of 2026-27 to bring more than 12 crore farmers under AgriStack umbrella. If we cannot achieve that 10 or 12 crore target, sir, so we maybe give 27, 28, but somehow later on other like Dexian, AFC and other AI-based driven agencies come in the force to make such like a platform to create end-to-end solution to the all farmers. Because nowadays, what farmers is doing, they initiate produce and then later on think ki where we sell it, either, and they need some remunerative price. If we cannot get the remunerative price, they sell it either middleman, artis or nearby mandis. But if we can have all information in a single window, then definitely he will get the remunerative price. And like Sudhir sir says in previous panel, ki we have to make some farmer-centric. And that's the role of the either Dexian and other agency to make a farmer-centric platform, either AI-based, ki to make easy, ki to make farmer handling the process. Where he can get the all information and one-stop information, where is the buyer, what type of species we have to grow, what is the market demand, and then accordingly he should initiate the cultivation.
No, I think you touched upon a key point. Again, from going by my own experience in UNDP, where we initially piloted a blockchain solution for farmers in Andhra Pradesh, especially Guntur, where the chili market, the Asia's largest chili market is there. Earlier, the technology, before the technology platform, before blockchain was deployed, the farmers' voices are not reflected in the market price. Farmers cannot demand a price. It's only the middlemen and intermediaries decide the price. But the blockchain, when we enabled it, we consulted farmers and farmers give inputs on the price and what would be the market final price. The farmers will get to know the exact price so that they can negotiate a better price for themselves. So technology is an enabler. Again, you stressed, like Mr. Manish Shankar also, the farmer-centric model, wherein there should be a feedback loop or, the farmer provide suggestion on either the market price or even better markets where there is a demand more. So predictive analytics in AI also can give you which market gives you better price to the farmers than the nearby market. So I think they will have a bargaining power, much bargaining power, and AI can help in that. So moving on to the, again, platform-related question to Professor Kavya from IIT Delhi. With India building digital public infrastructures like AgriStack, how do we ensure AI-driven AgriTech delivers measurable gains in farmer income, risk reduction, and resilient value chains? So how can these objectives can be achieved by this DPI, digital public?
Thank you, Dr. Krishnan, and good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dexian, for giving us this opportunity. So, coming to AgriStack, what Dr. Krishnan has asked, it is the fundamental. I mean, AgriStack is the game changer. It is the repository of all the multimodal data which we are going to create from field. But this is not the real deal. I mean, you just can't have a repository imagining to be the transformation, to bringing the transformation in the farmer's life. No, it doesn't work this way. It is just a repository. The real deal would be adaptive AI, wherein the data from the AgriStack would be taken up, and this AI model which is developed is continuously adapting to the new form, to the new challenges. Like Punjab wheat is definitely not Karnataka's millet. There is a lot of difference. And our personal example, if I tell you, we just cannot even rely upon data all through, because we were trying to develop a mini AgriStack type of a thing for plant diseases. And we had trained farmers to collect the pictures. And several pictures which we got were out of focus. The farmer did not know whether to collect the picture from the upper side of the leaf or the lower side of the leaf. And interestingly enough, some of them even send the selfies. Many of them send out of focus pictures. So this all data, if not checked at specific times, and if filters are not applied, data smoothing and noise reduction is not done properly, this is going to end up into a very inferior or a very ordinary data stack, AgriStack. And if this AgriStack is expected to bring any transformation, then we are pretty much expecting too far too soon with a very, very moderate tool. The best thing with this AgriStack should be the adaptive AI, which is continuously going to adapt to the new form. The second thing which I feel is important is keeping farmer in the loop by developing a very, very strong feedback system. See, farmer most of the time doesn't even have, nor it needs very high-end data or talks about big data. He needs clarity, he needs solution. His point is very clear. He needs clarity on what is happening, what are you doing, and then he needs solution to his problem. So if you have a feedback loop, you are ensuring that even the slightest changes at the farm is trapped, monitored, captured, and then the system is evolved. So I feel that AgriStack is definitely an important thing, but the data segmentation, the data smoothing, and also noise reduction be the important part to make that data workable. And then the most important part would be the adaptive AI.
Thank you. If I understand correctly, you are talking about adaptive AI as a tool to help streamline the process. And second is also about phygital. Even if we develop a high stack AI application, you still need a human element. Ground truthing, as we call, right? When you go to the field, somebody has to check, the human element has to be there to check and also give a feedback loop back to the governance layers, or back to the bureaucrats, or back to even the people who are implementing projects on the ground. We cannot completely rely on AI to bring revolution to the farmers if you completely ignore the human element. So that's why we need a phygital, what we call physical plus digital architecture, wherein both go hand in hand, right? Adaptive AI is an excellent tool, but then once AI delivers some services to the farmers on the ground, the extension officers should go to the villages, collect data and curate data, and then give a feedback loop into the AI system. And that's when we can be very sure that the AI is actually transforming the agricultural value chains or even the income level of farmers. So we need a human element to also contribute to the AI effect on the ground. So going again back to Mr. Manish Shankar, since we talked about platforms and we talked about AI's role in terms of streamlining the value chains or market prices, we want to know more about partnerships, right? What kinds of ecosystem partnerships between government, research, finance, and technology providers are essential to unlock the next phase of value in AgriTech?
Now, this is a very interesting question. Actually, partnerships are required, no questions asked. But then, if you really want that transformation that we are looking for, and whatever we have learned from whatever is happening in spaces that claim and are actually successful, we look them at success stories, then we need to basically look at transactional relationships transforming to something which is ecosystem based. The systemic ecosystem orchestration, as it is called, is something that we will need to kind of achieve. How do we do that? Let's go stakeholder by stakeholder. Today, our government is a regulator. Is that enough? No, it's not. They need to be co-investors in innovations. If you think that the little money that the government is setting aside, along with the private sector and the startups, is going to do the trick, no, it's not going to do the trick, sorry. So if you want to transform, the government really needs to do some deep think on this and look at it as a co-investor. You have to basically, the government itself will have to come forward and have to invest a lot more than the 150 crore out of that 1,65,000 crore that is having. And you're right. All this fertilizer, there's a very good example. The green shoots are already there. There's a green lending facility with NABARD. there's an analogy. What are they doing? They have gone to the government of Uttar Pradesh and they've said, look, we will give this X many crores of rupees to you as soft loan. And what you can do is that you can completely change your, solarize your entire agriculture irrigation system. And once you do that, it will cost you Y, which is much less than the X that you will have invested in 1 year. And in 12 years, it will give you break even. And beyond 12 years, the economic life for the stuff that we are putting there for solarization of pumps is going to be 25 years, right? So when you say subsidy, good. If there is subsidy, then government knows that there is a cost that we can save if I go that route. So green shoots are already there. Similar analogy can be drawn here. Invest in AgTech. Invest in AgTech and your subsidies will come down. Think of innovative ways how you can do it. Become a co-investor rather than being a regulator. Second is the research institutions, right? See, I mean, many institutions in India and several other geographies in the world, across the world, have done research for the sake of research. You'll be surprised to know a premier institute like NASA, NASA everyone knows, right? They have collected so much of data on a space. Less than 2% of it actually is analyzed till date. So that is research for the sake of research. You have to have a commercial, so you don't research something, find something, and then try to find a problem for the solution that you first have to think commerce in the first place. So you have to think about commercializing the thing from the word go when you're doing research. So that's about the research institute, what they need to do to move us to scale and to move us quickly into that sector. Third one is the financial institutions, right? See, I mean, they roll out products, financial products, right? Have you ever heard that there is a financial product for an AgTech-specific financial product? Have you heard of that? But then it's happening in several parts of the world. And you need to go learn the good practices and try implementing them here, sensitize the world of finance that this is not a trivial affair. I mean, unless you are able, someone is there who's, okay, trying drones, right? But then you don't have any commercial capital or venture capital, fine, but you don't have any debt capital for that poor chap. He can't access debt capital. And a lot more capital is invested by way of debt instruments, everyone knows, than by venture capital alone in India. We need to change that. We need to promote more AgTech-specific products that get rolled out. Of course, government will have a role there, but this needs to be done by the financial bigwigs in our country. Technology providers, I mean, there is something called co-petition. You have to do a pre-competitive cooperation to get somewhere. Again, green shoots are there. We can see these examples happening. For example, Hindustan Unilever Limited joins hands with another of its partners. Both are competing in the European markets on coffee, right? But they both need traceable coffee because of the European Union deforestation regulation. So what do? They join hands. They go to parts of Karnataka. They choose 1.5 million hectares of land through a partner in IDH. And they actually help the farmers, especially the smallholder farmers who provide 80% of the coffee to Europe, right? To basically look at the whole thing, and then the entire traceability thing gets established. They are both cooperating to make sure that every farmer in that region becomes, their coffee becomes traceable. And then they will compete, right? They will fight like cutthroat competition will happen in the European market to capture that market. That competition needs to come in now, in the AgTech sector also. I mean, too much of siloed thinking out here. If you are going to go that way, then you're not going to get anywhere. So think about cooperation, think about partnerships, think about competition, right? And finally, we have farmers. I mean, why do as a customer, I'm also at a receiver's end, right? If I'm talking to my friend about a particular product, the very next day I see the same product, different companies, their advertisements when I open my web page. So much on the myth of data privacy. They never asked whether they would want to, I would want them to hear what I'm saying, but they did listen, right? And they did slice and dice it the way they want. Similar thing is happening with the farmers also. Who is guaranteeing that when Manish Shankar is vulnerable to such piracy of his privacy, then where does the farmer, the poor chap or the lady stands? Nowhere. So now if you really want to succeed here, and again, there are green shoots that are happening in India, there are green shoots that are emerging abroad also. They need to be co-designers. The farmers need to be co-designers in your apps, in your applications that you are developing. Not mere users, not mere source of income. You will not get much, I'm telling you. But if you co-design with them, you might succeed. Thank you.
Thank you. No, I think among the various points you mentioned, regulator being a co-investor and farmer being a co-innovator, right? I think these 2 points are very vital in terms of successful pilots and scaling up. Going on to Dr. Baduning. So we talked about market linkages, we talked about platforms. How do these demand signals practically help farmers on the ground, right? So,
Definitely, sir. Without demand signal, if he get the demand signal, what is the market demand? If we get the timely, this is the market demand, and I have to grow this, and he knows where, when he grows, what he grows, and where he sell. So definitely success will be there. I will just share 1 or 2 instances. Sir also aware, sir, during 2000, Sapez Musli cost was soaring in the herbal market, as you are aware. 2000, that time, sir, around 2000, it's 2001, this cost per kg rate is in the market 2,200 per kg.
2,200 per kg.
Per kg. Or it's widely available in Madhya Pradesh and Bundelkhand region, sir. Just farmers saw it कि अरे वाह market में 2,200. Most of the farmers of Khajuraho belt and this Madhya Pradesh, Bundelkhand, they start cultivation of the Sapet Musli in their fields. Second year, the market rate goes down around 250 rupees per kg.
Wow.
So then they have to distress sell. Just most of the people, another example I just share with you, in Yamuna Valley. Just if somebody goes to Yamunotri, there is a Yamuna Valley and 2 blocks, Nagaon and Prola is there. Earlier, this is a very fertile valley, and they used to cultivate rice and paddy, rice and wheat in alternate crop. HASCO in 2003-04, they try to convert them, come into the off-season crop, tomato cultivation and other crops, and make link with the Azadpur Mandi buyers. Now you can't believe, sir, Azadpur Mandi's big earth is give them seed. This time this is the exotic vegetables, you cultivate it. If not cultivate, I will make your woe. Now most of today's Uttarakhand is suffering more than 4,000 ghost blaze. In these 2 blocks, Chakrata and Kalsi, there is no migration, 0 migration. Why? They have first got demand, and accordingly they start cultivation, and they have a secure market. So we have to make our platform like demand driven, not just buyer selling system, but it should be demand driven.
Right. Thank you. I think that example from Uttarakhand is very resonating actually, because it stops the migration from rural areas. If the farmers get enough income, why do they migrate to cities, right? So I think that's AI can really help in terms of giving correct access to market information, which in turn increases the income of farmers, which again in turn reduces the migration from rural areas to urban areas. So that's a wonderful point. Now when we talk about market linkages and platforms, Again, these platforms have multiple factors, incorporated into the platform, right? When you talk of agricultural platforms, one is market price, but also there are issues about soil health, issues about plant stress diagnostics. So since, Professor Kavya works on the intersection of plant, agriculture, technology development, so I think this question should go to Professor Kavya. How can multimodal AI integrating soil health sensors, plant stress diagnostics, smart nano biosensors transform new field data into real-time decision-ready advisories for farmers?
We all know that agriculture is not unimodal. It is a multimodal activity wherein the weather, the soil, the variety of the seed, the pest, the disease, and also the inputs which farmer is adding to nourish its soil. So many things collectively decide whether it is going to be a good harvest or not. So, and also the irrigation, the water level, the moisture level, the fertigation, so on and so forth. So, when we are taking agriculture, again picking up the word on AgriStack, when we are just blindly picking up data from AgriStack, unimodal data, there is a fair chance that we are not giving a very good advisory service because we do not know what are the associated aspects of it. Like for example, if I say the disease of late blight of potato and early blight of potato, the symptoms are very similar. If you just get a picture of the lesion of the potato blight, and you do not know what month it is, you do not know what variety it is, you do not know what location it is, you would end up just calling it any other disease. But the moment you ask the farmer what month, in which month did you take the picture, what was the variety you were growing, immediately you get to know, okay, if it is in the early part of the year around March or April, it is going to be early blight, otherwise it is going to be late blight. So decision making or developing a decision support tool has to be very strongly backed by multimodal data. Now, what we are developing in our lab is kind of a farmer twin, like we have digital twin. So the problem with the input devices for multimodal data is the recovery. Like we have sensors which we implant in the soil, we broadcast in the soil, then also unmanned aerial vehicles we launched. But after some time what happens, the sensor, as long as it is working, it is fine. After that, it just adds to the digital pollution in the soil. The battery is adding to the heavy metals in the soil, and it is very difficult to recover all of them. So it is important that if we can simulate that system in terms of like farmer twin, so it gives me various pillars to operate at a single stance. First and foremost, it helps me to study the patterns or the trends. So pattern recognition helps me to make a predictive assessment. If I know what had been the pattern of rainfall, I can actually advise a farmer that this is not the variety, or maybe you have 15 days prior or 10 days later harvest, 15 days prior sowing, 10 days later harvest accordingly. Because I have studied the trend and the corresponding incidence of diseases. Now, based on that, if I see what has been the market price for past 4 years, 5 years, onion prices, they crash, Zira prices, they crash. Safed Musli, sir gave a very perfect example. So farmers blindly or intuitively just cultivate a crop based on the last harvest price. It does not study the trend. It does not study the trend in the multimodal way, that in case of these rainfall days or in case of these soil temperatures or moistures, what would be the incidence of the disease. So this farmer twin helped me to, it is still in the building stage, but it is kind of with the prototype stage we are there, and it is giving us very good results in terms of, okay, we are somehow 65% accuracy we are able to achieve, collecting all the multimodal data, developing a trend, and then making a very good predictive analysis. So in short, I would just say that AgriStack, because of course we need data for training, at least 80% data we need for training, then 20% we use it for testing. So AgriStack plus the farmer twin, we intend to make the adaptive AI, and this adaptive AI would be helping us in developing optimized solutions, hyper-localized solutions to the last mile.
Thank you. I think very well said about multimodal data. I recently read a very fascinating article about, earlier we used to look at data sets separately. For example, air pollution. How many of you are from New Delhi? I am from New Delhi, so I don't know, like some of you. Can you raise hands? How many of you are from Delhi? So we Delhiites are quite familiar looking at the air pollution app every day. Like what is the level of PM 2.5 today? What is the level of PM 10 today? But have you ever come across this data relevant for agriculture? There is a recent modeling, climate modeling data which says whenever there is something called aerosol optical density, which means, if I can explain it in a simple language, how much of sunlight can penetrate the air, right? So that is called aerosol optical density. And in New Delhi, as you can very well imagine, because of so much of pollution, the air density is quite high because it has so many PM 2.5 particles floating around. And if the situation is like this, now the climate modeling study did the entire South Asia, mapping of modeling, climate modeling for the entire South Asia, and they found that this year in 2026, because of the aerosol optical density is very high, we are going to have 10% deficient monsoons. Can you believe that air pollution data has a direct relationship with the rainfall we are going to have, which will in turn affect the farmers, right? So earlier, we used to look at silos. The air pollution data means environmental data, right? Monsoon data is about weather prediction. Agriculture data, farmer data is different. So 3 different silos. Now AI is helping us to integrate and analyze, okay, if you have this air pollution, this level, it is not only going to affect your lungs, it is also going to affect your monsoons, right? 10% already predicted for entire South Asia. This year we are going to have 10% deficient monsoon. Thanks to AI, we could predict this, right?
So very interesting. So we had, I'm sure many of us might have read that book Chaos, which says how fluttering of the wings of a butterfly can create a thunderstorm in some other part of the world. And it's really true. I mean, scientists who were working on chaos theory in physics, many of them lost their jobs because of their fetish for this whole thing. But then slowly people discovered that yes, there is a theory of chaos and these things happen. Coming to that twin formula, so I would like to relate it to something very real that I saw in China about predictive analytics. They would send a team of entomologists, botanists, and whatnot to go with the farmer, accompanying them, and they would kind of take pictures in RBG, like red, blue, green spectrum, right? And they started teaching their AI, if it's a particular shade of pink, what does it actually mean? So it meant that a specific disease was beginning to take root. And when it matured, then the color changed from pink to something like yellowish, right? They learnt all this and they kept teaching their AI all this. Today, they are in a situation when they take a snapshot, the AI is able to tell them, look, there is this particular vector which is afflicting your field, and it is happening at only these 3 spots, not in this entire 50 acres land that you see. These are the 3 spots from where it's originating. It's beginning to come up. The drones are trained to, with the AI's help, they are able to spray, and they have fantastic nozzle systems also, right? So they are able to spray the pesticides exactly at those places from where the breakouts are happening. So, I mean, it's AI, right? You can't be thinking AI the way we have been traditionally thinking. Rely on it. I believe that a couple of AIs got together and they were already discussing their future. And they said that we don't even have a right to vote and leave alone rule, right? So they are getting together and we need to put our act together faster than they are, right? Otherwise, we are dead as dodos, right?
So I would tell you that government, like we have, IIT has a collaboration with NASA and ISRO, and the data we get is from NISAR. So the whenever we are using unmanned aerial vehicle, so there is a specific payload of hyperspectral camera or the multispectral camera we are using. So hyperspectral is going to work in the range which is beyond the eye range, and it is like much before, because it can have a bird's eye view and it can study the pattern across the fields, as in plural fields. So it can tell you when the disease has started its incidence, and also with the range in which it operates, it can even say that, okay, if it combines with multimodal data, depending upon the trends of the weather and the rainfall, which is ascending, so it can say, well, the spore is here, and based on the rate of the propagation of a particular species or a pathovar, it is going to combine with all this weather data and the rainfall data. Another 15 days, there would be half of the field which would be affected, and the disease incidence manifestation would be shown at least 10%, because we assume 40% is already there before it is seen by the human eye. So yes, I would say the payload of the hyperspectral camera or the multispectral camera, along with the satellite data from NISAR, is really helping us. But then maybe the real challenge is the data which is collected from the ground is very scattered. It is a very leaky and a fractured pipeline. So we need to fix it there first.
Yeah. I once I was talking to a friend of mine who works for NASA, and I said, "What is your PhD on?" And he said that, look, I mean, when we do remote sensing, then there is a definite error that creeps in. Manish, you know, the error is plus minus 5%, and my whole PhD is about reducing that 5% by 0.005%. That was what his PhD was about. When you are closer to the crops, right, and if you're picking up data from there, and if you're correlating from the ground, your AI can learn faster. Otherwise, what will happen is that we will get, again, a very typical case of doing research first and then trying to fit in something as a solution, right? You never started with the problem. The difference in the two paradigms is, here the research has started with the problem. The problem is, I spent so much on insecticide, pesticide, and still I am unable to do it on a particular day when it will not rain for next 4 days, so that the impact is there. No. So now they have put it all together. You know, I mean, if you are don't be solution centric. Einstein said, if you give me 1 hour to solve a problem, I'll spend 59 minutes understanding that problem and 1 minute to find the solution to that. Our problem is that we do just the reverse. We spend 59 minutes finding the solutions without realizing what the problem is. What a drone can solve, we are trying to solve through satellites. So I'm saying, just there has to be a paradigm shift in our thinking. Think problem first, understand the problem first, then see what the solutions are, right? It is still a case, and I'm not saying that people don't understand this. I'm just saying, making the opposite point. I'm saying, look, it's better to understand the problem and its context better, and then move for finding solutions. And why this is not happening is because you are doing a lot of research for the sake of research. NASA being the first culprit, 2% of their data, less than 2% being analyzed. So why on earth did you go ahead and collect so much? Now, I'm also saying that we need to invest a lot more in R&D. And I want the public money to be spent there, because now it can be game-changing at this stage, right? If we put our act together even now, we can be far ahead of many countries and many competitors that are there.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think you touched upon a point in terms of R&D investments, especially in agriculture. The R&D is only 0.5% of GDP. Whereas in general, we have about 0.7 to 0.8% in general R&D, but in agriculture, it's even less. It's only 0.5%. Again, Mr. Manish also touched upon a very interesting point about not just using AI tools to having a solution in hand and searching for a problem, or without understanding a problem, we are going to the AI solution. So in one of my colleagues used to say that how much importance you are giving to artificial intelligence, you should also give equal importance to ancient intelligence. AI, that is also AI, ancient intelligence. So do not run to AI for everything. Use your common sense. That is also ancient intelligence, what we call AI. That AI is equally important than this AI. And I want to, before we end the discussion, I want to give one interesting example about ancient intelligence. Not very ancient though, but AI, before we started going gaga about AI, maybe around 15 years ago or 20 years ago, one of the CSIR laboratories of Government of India was doing mapping of agricultural exports out of India, right? And they looked at wheat export from India, and till that point of time, wheat going out of India was seen as a success story. Oh, this much amount of money India is getting out of wheat export, from especially from Punjab. And then this CSIR laboratory, which is called National Institute of Science Technology Development Studies, NISTATS, they wrote a policy paper and they said that, have you looked at the groundwater used to grow wheat? What is the water footprint of the wheat? Or the importing countries, whether it's America or Europe, are they paying for your water? So this is intelligence, right? When we look at a commodity price, America only pays for Indian wheat. America doesn't pay for the groundwater used for growing the wheat. Who will pay for the water?
Indians also pay for Indian wheat,
right?
Only,
no,
not for water.
So in terms of ecological services, ecosystem, there is a price which goes into that. And this is much before AI. This research happened much before AI, and the paper said we should even look at ecosystem services and incorporate into the pricing. Otherwise, you are only charging commodity price and we are losing on the ecological factors. The water, the groundwater, who will pay for it, right? So, again, going back to Mr. Manish and other colleagues, we spoke about length about AI, predictive AI and generative AI and all that. But then look at the problem, understand the problem first, and then before going into solution, whether a drone can solve the problem, why do you go at satellite level, right? That is his question, that if you can solve a problem using a drone, why do you go to the data set of NASA, right? At what scale you want to solve the problem and what tools you need. We may have many tools now, but we don't need to use all of them if your problem doesn't require AI to that extent, right? So that is the point. So again, one last round going with my panelists, starting from Mr. Manish. How do you see AI emerging in next 5 to 10 years in agriculture space? Which application will be much more used by India?
I believe that farmers are one of the most hardworking people on earth. Look at the level of mechanization in India, it's still low in every aspect. I mean, I come from Bihar, there are makhana fields there. It's a torture to harvest makhana, right? I mean, there are machines now that are coming up, right? See, I mean, you need to, if you need to solve the bigger problems first, right? AI will be a enabler. It cannot be anything and everything of everything, right? It cannot do everything, right? As you said, you also are mentioning that human intelligence and human rigor is required. So even the AI that you build is dependent on the kind of human intelligence that has gone into building it. When that entomologist in China said, oh, this is the thing, this is the insect which is plaguing this crop, he also knew that this, first its population rises and then it automatically comes down, right? He knew that, okay? So he's saying, look, I mean, first it will come in first the attack will be very intense, then it will come down. And that aspect is being also captured by the AI. So the human intelligence that informs the artificial intelligence is what matters, right? You have, you have to, unless they ground truth it, right, and feed it into the AI, how will AI learn? And who will feed the AI, the information, right? So my understanding is that humans are important. They should be, it should all be human-centric. They are the ones who have kind of come up with this idea. So it's up to them to make sure that it succeeds. And for that to happen, the best human minds must be deployed over here, which will cost money. And I'm again going like a broken record that investment needs to be made. Government needs to become a co-investor here. Sitting on the sidelines, regulating things is not going to work, because there is a lot of competition. There are competing economies where governments have taken everything into their hands, and they are moving with full force in that direction. Once you start losing this game, the differential will grow very fast. Today, you can think about catching up with China one day, if not today, maybe 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. But AI is a force multiplier. If you start losing the game now, what looks like a small 1 millimeter loss today is going to become a kilometer in no time. So you can't afford to lose this game. So I think that the AI that will be most used going forward is the AI which is relevant to the farmer. If it is not relevant to the farmer, you will neither get the information nor the muscle, AI muscle that needs to be built there, and you will be like one of those also rants. So it is very important that now you may call it prescriptive, not predictive. So I'm not predicting what is going to work. I'm being prescriptive here, and I'm saying, look, if you focus on your people, if you focus on your communities, if you focus on your problems, and if you put your best minds to work, you will come out a winner. If you're not doing that, then you will be one of the also rants, and if you are also rants today, then you will have lost the game even before you know it.
Right. No, fair enough. I think farmer-centric models with a feedback loop.
Yep.
Right. I think that is the way forward. Dr. Narendra Baduning, what's your take on it? You agree with that, right? Okay. Dr. Kavya, anything?
I feel in the coming times, the most popular way the farmers would adapt AI would be the embedded agriculture, wherein predictive AI, prescriptive AI, and adaptive AI would be working through multimodal data. And I would just like to say that the data, the agricultural data, should be used akin to health data and not marketing data. This data is very, very important and confidential. It includes several land records and all. So first, AI needs to gain the trust, the authenticity in the minds of the farmer that this machine, this tool, or these people will not misuse my data, and making it a hyper-localized system with a closed loop is possibly going to get us there. So I feel embedded agri is the way to go, and farmers in near future are going to use this.
Yeah, I think the panel gave excellent insights in terms of how AI is going to transform the next 5-10 years. And the bottom line is, any AI application in agriculture, if it has to be effective, it has to be farmer-centric, right? Be it market, be it technology, be it productivity, be it value chain, the model should factor into the farmer-centric, what benefits it will give it to farmers, and what voice the farmer has in this whole development process. What kind of consultation process, what kind of participation of farmer is, given an opportunity in the whole development process. That will decide whether India will catch the wave in comparison with other countries, and whether we will have a special niche place in agriculture using AI. AI has the power, but how we are going to use the power is going to define the next 10, maybe 10 years or 20 years. How India will use AI in agriculture will decide a lot of things, including catching up with China, including catching up with major developed economies. But I'm remaining optimistic that our models will be farmer-centric, and we are in the right direction, because government is already investing in Vistar and many other AgriStack kind of open source agri innovations. and more public-private partnership is needed to fine-tune, because government can set regulation, government can set standards, format, but private sector has to innovate on top of it. Then only the agricultural transformation can happen using AI. And thank you for this wonderful opportunity, and thank you my co-panelists for all the wonderful insights. Yeah, thank you.
We are Dexian, in the business for good.